right, here we go. We have activist and former leader of the Latin Kings, King Tone, in the building.
Yeah. What's up? What's up, y'all?
Well, pleasure to have you. Because I remember growing up, I saw the documentary that they did on you in HBO uh, years ago. This was in the '90s, I believe, right?
Yes. 91. He started like 95, 96. It came out 2003.
Okay, there we go. There we go. Just a very powerful documentary. As someone that was living on the West Coast at the time that really didn't know about the Latin Kings at all, this was before the internet and everything else like that. It was just a very eye opening documentary. And it really showed kind of the complex nature of who you are and your position in that organization.
Yeah, in any time when you're coming through and you make an oath to be part of something that's part revolutionary but part lost, because through the historical attacks of getting labeled as a gang from being a social club or a group in the days that when we started, we had to fight that war. So you're automatically a criminal is what I'm trying to say when if you took that label or the responsibility to recreate it. So, that's it's a challenge, right? It's, especially when you join something, that's already has its history.
Sure. So let's go ahead and get into the whole history of the Latin Kings. So the Latin Kings were originally formed in Chicago in Humboldt Park around 1950.
No, I don't. I'm not sure if that's that late, but they started around the '60s when the Black Power movement was going, and when they already had in Chicago the college kids going in the street and empowering. That's where Young Lords was born out of, and the rest of the power groups were forming there. The Hoovers, the Larrys, we were all, and the Kings were coming up at that time. So I say it's the '60s, really, late '60s after the Vietnam War. They came back, and these were the power groups they started forming to coexist in an Irish neighborhood, that being Latino was a tough situation. So that's really when they started, just as a social club around there, the '60s, I believe.
Well, originally it started as a group to kind of protect Latinos and to stand up for civil rights. But at one point, it kind of started to have a criminal element to it.
Well, I think criminal element in a poor society. So let's say my example, King Tone I wasn't born King Tone. King Tone was made and created. And one of the things that created it was East New York. In the '70s and '80s, you couldn't have a nickname named Pachi. So if you Pachi in East New York and you're in the street and you got four sisters, like you said, I might have been coming home with a little bit of black eyes. So you start creating what they do in New York. You create a label, you create a character that is a lot different being called King Tone than Pachi. You get what I'm saying? Or Tone in the street. So what I'm saying, yeah, and I think that's the product. And that's, in a poor neighborhood, that's the quickest way a man that's been called a spick in my time, that was the word, not educated, not empowered. You look to these power groups and you look to these people, even though the element is slinging numbers, hustling the numbers with the Italians, running to the spot. If it was, the guy in the corner slinging dope, a lot of people say, but those are all criminals. Growing up in the '80s and the '70s in East New York, 75th Precinct police officers were selling dope. My guys were selling dope. So what's the environment I'm learning? I'm learning that's the product that gives me a future here. And that's the one they're letting into my neighborhood. So what I'm trying to say is a product that I think, criminal enterprises or criminal opportunities are offered to me and people like me when we're in those neighborhoods a lot quicker than a real opportunity, like education, equality. So yeah, at an element after they killed our great leaders like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King's, they got mad in Chicago, man. Like they did in the riots in California. Burn this motherfucker down. Ain't nobody listening. Now we're the bad guys. So that's what King Tone is unique. I've learned from them in reading as coming up. Perception is as good as burning a building as making the city spend money watching me if I'm going to burn it. Right?
It's a good way to put it.